solve some scale factor problems using proportions. This was in a previous video, but by way of review, I just want to remind you that when two ratios or fractions, we also call them ratios, are equivalent, in other words, they are equal to each other, their cross products are also equal. And we can use cross products to solve proportion problems. So, for example, 2/3 equals 6/9. They are equal. This means that their cross products are also equal to each other. So 3 times 6 equals 2 times 9. And this will always be the case. If the cross products are equal, the fractions, the ratios are also equal. Let's look at some examples of problems where it asks if the ratios are a proportion. So what we would do is the first thing we want to look at are the sort of units of measure that we're looking at in the problem. So I'm going to color code these. I'm going to color code customers in green and minutes in purple. So what I want to make sure that when I write my fraction, which is what we want to do, and then we want to check the cross products, that's how we're going to solve this and figure out whether it's a proportion or not. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have the fractions written the same as far as the numerators and denominators. We don't want to mix those up. So when I write my first fraction, I want to make sure I write 4 customers to 12 minutes. So 4 over 12. And then when I write my second fraction, and I'm trying to figure out if they are equal to each other, when I write my second fraction, I want to write 3 customers to 9 minutes. I don't want to get these reversed. If I do get them reversed, or if I reverse one of them, then it won't turn out correctly. I won't be able to figure out whether it's a proportion or not. So just be sure that you keep those in order as you write your proportion. So 12 times 3. 12 times 3 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36. 36 equals 36. So the answer would be yes, this does form a proportion. So that would be the answer to that one. Look at this one. So I want to put cents over milliliters. Okay, so 8 cents. So I'm going to have numerators of 8 and 20. Then my denominators are going to be 3 goes with the 8 and 4 goes with the 20. You also want to make sure you keep those straight too. The 8 and the 3 to go together, and the 20 and the 4 go together. Okay, so I'm looking to find out, are these equal to each other? Well, let's see. 3 times 20 is 60. 8 times 4 is 32. These do not equal each other. So my answer here would be no, this does not form a proportion. All right, so that might be one type of problem you would see. Another type of problem you might see is like this, where you have a missing value. So they're telling us P over 21 equals 6 over 3. So knowing that, I can use cross products to solve this equation. What I typically do is I usually take the cross product that has the missing item, missing term first. So I will multiply the P times the 3 first. P times 3 is 3P. 21 times 6, 126, okay? And then I'm just going to divide both sides by 3. It's just a one-step equation. That's going to be P equals, let's see, what is 126 divided by 3? That is 42. So that's how I would use a proportion, or cross product, sorry, to solve proportion. This is also a review from a previous video. Okay, this next one I would do, let me rewrite it. I would multiply 72 times B first, because I like to have my variable on the left side. That's the only reason I do that. What is 90 times 48? 4,320. Divide by 72. And that would be 60. B equals 60. So just a reminder, using cross products to solve proportion problems. We've done this in a previous video. Now let's look at some word problems. We also did these in a previous video too. I kind of got ahead of myself, but that's okay. This is just going to be a review. Okay, so Let's look at this one. Finn learned a total of 14 appetizer recipes over the course of 7 weeks of culinary school. After how many weeks? Okay, so this is the clue right here. How many weeks of culinary school will Finn know a total of 18 appetizer recipes? Okay, how many weeks in 7 weeks? I'm going to do that in this reddish orange color. And then the appetizers I'm going to do in blue. If I can see that down here, we'll see. So I want to do appetizers over weeks. And it doesn't matter which way you do this. You can do weeks over appetizers. You just got to keep it straight when you write your proportion. So writing the proportion is like half the battle on these. So let's talk about what are our numerators. We have 14 and we have 18. Our denominators are going to be 7 and some number, n. The 7 goes with the 14, so that's going to go here. And the n, or how many weeks, goes here with the 18. So if they're asking how many of something, that's your clue that that's where your x or your n or your t, it doesn't matter. You put a w there, it doesn't matter what variable you use, just put a variable there. Okay, I know these are equal to each other because it says assume the relationship is directly proportional. So they're equal. I just have to figure out what n equals. 14 times n is 14n. 18 times 7 is 126. Divide by 14. Put that in my calculator. That is 9. So that answers the question. How many weeks of culinary school will it take for him to know 18 appetizer recipes? So that was 9 weeks. So 14 to 7 is the same as 18 to 9. Yeah, that makes sense. 7 is half of 14. 9 is half of 18. So that makes sense. All right, let's look at another one. Destiny baked 28 cookies with 4 scoops of flour. With 8 scoops of flour, how many cookies can Destiny bake? This one's kind of trying to trick you a little bit because it put cookies and flour, and then over here it did flour to cookies. So we really need to make sure that we just keep them in the right order. So let's do cookies over, let's do teal, flour. All right, so my cookie numbers. I've got 28 and how many? Okay, so 28 and N or C or whatever you want to put there, it's fine. My denominators, the flour numbers, the flour that goes with 28 is 4, so that goes here. The flour that goes with how many is 8, that goes here. You probably already know what the answer is, but we're going to go ahead and do a proportion anyway. So I'm going to do the 4 times the N first, equals 28 times 8 is 224, divide by 4, 56. So what does that tell me? With 8 scoops of flour, Destiny can bake 56 cookies. Well, let's see. 4 times 7 is 28. 8 times 7 is 56. That kind of makes sense. Let's see if we have another one. Okay, so this is 2 figures, and they are what we call similar figures. One of them is an enlargement of the other one. We're really not talking about scale factor here exactly. We are trying to find the missing length. So these are similar figures, which means they have sides that correspond to each other. So what I want to do is I want to identify the corresponding sides. To do that, I kind of have to imagine this purple figure kind of rotating around a little bit. So the Z and the 8 correspond to each other. And the 72 and the 48 correspond to each other. Here's where we have to be careful. Just like with the word problems that we just did, we have to make sure that we go from teal to purple, teal to purple. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I'm just going to make a note to myself. All right, so I want my numerators to be the teal, and my denominators will be the purple. And what I mean by that is they're going to come from the teal or the purple. I'm going to get rid of this because I think that's a little bit confusing because 2 of them are circled in teal. Okay. So my numerators are going to come from the teal figure, My denominators are going to come from the purple figure. That's what I mean by that. Okay, so 48 and 72 correspond to each other. So that means I'm going to have a numerator of 48, and the 72 goes with that. 72. And it does equal. And then I'm going to go back to my teal figure, my teal parallelogram, and I'm going to get that 8 from there. That goes in the numerator. There are other ways you can do this. This is how I do it. I go left, right, right. Okay, and that goes over the Z. And I'm looking for Z. So just like we did with the cookies and the scoops, and just like we did with the appetizers and the weeks, we just have to make sure that we keep those straight and keep them in the same order. Okay, so now I can solve this proportion. I got to figure out what 72 times 8 is. 576. 48Z equals 576. Divide by 48. And Z equals 12. A little bit over my time limit I like to set for myself, so I'm going to say goodbye for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.